Have you ever, found yourself just gazing at a big stretch of land, maybe a farm, sort of rolling green for miles, or like a really dense, quiet forest?
Mhm.
And you just wonder about those invisible lines, right? Who owns it? Who can actually go there?
Yeah, and what keeps it safe or usable?
Exactly. It touches on something pretty fundamental about our landscape, doesn't it? This whole idea of private property.
It's everywhere.
But the actual practical stuff, access, using it responsibly, protecting it, that often feels like, like trying to find your way through a maze.
Definitely uncharted territory sometimes.
So today we're going to try and untangle some of that. We're doing a deep dive into protecting access to private land.
And our way in is through a really interesting blog post from the American Hunting Lease Association, AHLA.
Right, the AHLA.
Yeah, so our mission today is basically to unpack what protecting access really means in this specific context. We'll look at the services they offer,
Mm-hmm.
how they deal with concerns from landowners, from users.
The spoken and unspoken ones, maybe?
Exactly. And, the bigger picture implications for anyone interested in land use, hunters, landowners.
So it's not just about insurance policies then?
No, not at all. It's really about connecting the dots between all these different people and getting into the nitty-gritty practicalities that make these arrangements actually work, or sometimes why they fall apart.
Okay, so let's start with the core of it, their mission. AHLA's mission seems incredibly focused. The blog quotes them, "Protecting access to private property like this beautiful farm is all we do. That's all we want to do."
Yeah, it's very direct.
It really is. What does that tell you, that kind of sharp focus?
Well, it's fascinating because that single focus is, I think, quite strategic, in what can be a pretty crowded insurance market.
Right.
By carving out this specific niche, helping people use private lands, especially for outdoor stuff like hunting, they're not just selling insurance, they're really aiming to be the go-to resource, the authority for a very particular group.
Which builds trust, I imagine.
Exactly. It builds a kind of trust and market understanding that maybe a more general insurer just couldn't replicate. It suggests they really get the unique challenges in this space.
And they don't just state the mission, they talk about how they do it. They mention 3 pillars: making the process simple, the product professional, and the cost affordable.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those sound a bit like standard marketing buzzwords, maybe, but I'm guessing simple here doesn't mean like overly basic.
No, you're spot on. For this audience, simple can't mean simplistic. It probably means taking really dense legal stuff, liability terms, and making it actionable, easy to grasp for, say, a busy farmer and an avid hunter.
Without needing a lawyer sitting next to them.
Precisely. And professional suggests, it's not just an off-the-shelf product. It means the coverage is legally sound, maybe compliant with different state rules, and actually holds up if there's a claim. Robust, exactly.
Yeah.
And affordable, well, that shows they understand the economics for both landowners and hunters who might be working with tight budgets. It's about making it accessible, but still effective.
Okay, so who are these professional, affordable, simple solutions actually for? The blog mentions specific audiences and services. Let's break those down. For hunters, they list 2 types: hunting lease, club insurance, and guides and outfitters insurance. How are those different? What are the nuances there?
That's a really key distinction. Think of the hunting lease or club insurance as mainly covering risks tied to recreational use.
Okay, so just for fun, basically.
Pretty much. It's for the individual hunter or maybe members of a hunting club. It protects them if there's an accident like a fall from a tree stand, maybe a stray shot causing injury, or even if they accidentally damage the landowner's property.
Right.
It's about their personal liability or the club's liability while they're out there hunting recreationally.
Gotcha. So what about the guides and outfitters one? Sounds more commercial.
Exactly. That one's specifically built for businesses.
Yeah.
People who are charging clients for guided trips, professional hunting guides, fishing charters, maybe even those photo safari things.
Okay.
So here, the liability goes way beyond just recreational accidents. It covers things like professional negligence. Did the guide make a bad call? It could cover equipment damage affecting a client, maybe even lost income if a trip gets canceled because of something unforeseen.
Ah, so the stakes are much higher.
Much higher. The coverage reflects that extra layer of commercial responsibility, the trust a client places in them. It's about protecting a business, not just covering a hobby.
That makes perfect sense. The commercial versus recreational context really clarifies it. But it's not just the users, right? The landowners are fundamental.
Absolutely. They're the foundation.
So how does AHLA help them? the blog mentions vacant land insurance and also that hunting lease club insurance again, but for landowners this time.
Yeah, and that distinction and the overlap is important. So vacant land insurance. Think of that as the baseline protection for any landowner, whether they lease the land or not.
Just for owning empty land.
Right, because just owning undeveloped land carries inherent risks. Now, what if a trespasser gets hurt? Or a fire starts on your property and spreads? There's even something called attractive nuisance, like an old barn or something, that might draw people, especially kids, onto the property where they could get injured. Owning the land itself creates this need.
Okay, so that's the basic cover. What about the hunting lease insurance for the landowner?
Right, so when the landowner holds that policy, it specifically addresses the increased liability that comes from actively leasing their land for hunting.
Because they've invited people on for a specific activity.
Exactly. You've invited specific, sometimes higher risk activity onto your property. So this insurance makes sure they're covered if there are claims related to hunter accidents or maybe damage caused by hunting activities. It often needs specific clauses to manage those risks.
So it's really peace of mind when you open your gates.
That's the goal. Peace of mind for a specific purpose.
It sounds like AHLA is really trying to provide this tailored safety net for both sides. And beyond just the insured's policies, the blog mentions other stuff too. Lease spotter, hunter resources, landowner resources, their blog. It feels like more than just insurance.
Totally. They seem to be building a whole platform, almost like a community hub.
Lease spotter sounds interesting, like a dating site for hunters and landowners?
Sort of. It sounds like a way to connect landowners who want to lease their land with hunters looking for access. But probably more than just listings, maybe facilitating informed connection.
Right, setting expectations.
Yeah. And those dedicated resource sections for hunters and landowners.
Yeah.
They likely offer crucial info on, I don't know, how to write a good lease agreement, tips on wildlife management, understanding local rules.
So they're empowering people with knowledge too.
Exactly. Which probably leads to better relationships, fewer conflicts down the road. It's a holistic approach.
And if you're wondering about trusting them, they actually say, check out huntinglease.org and look at our Google reviews. That feels pretty bold.
It really does. It speaks volumes, I think, about their confidence in their service and their focus on transparency. In this kind of industry, where trust is just paramount, you're dealing with legal stuff. Valuable assets, putting your reviews out there like that is a strong signal.
Tells you they believe the service speaks for itself.
Yeah, and that positive word of mouth is probably a big part of how they build credibility. Vital for keeping customers in this niche.
You know what really ties this together for me? It's realizing who wrote this blog post. It's not just some abstract theory.
The author.
Yeah, the author is Connor Hermesh. He's the marketing manager for AHLA, been there over 5 years, based in Indiana. And the blog mentions he enjoys fishing, riding his quad, campfires. He's one of the people using the land.
Right, and that's actually really significant, isn't it? Well, when you have someone like Connor, who's not just pushing marketing messages, but is genuinely an outdoors person.
He gets it.
He gets it. It changes the feel of the content. It goes from maybe dry policy talk to practical advice that understands the real world. His experience with quads and campfires isn't just flavor text. It suggests the advice might be super practical, hitting on those little pain points only someone who's actually out there would even think about.
Like, what are the rules for using an ATV trail within the lease? Or who's liable if a campfire gets out of hand?
Exactly, those kinds of details. Things a purely corporate person might just gloss over. That personal connection gives the information this layer of authenticity, makes it feel more useful.
Yeah, I can see that. And that practicality really seems to come through in the related posts section mentioned in the blog. These titles sound like real questions people have.
They do, like FAQs drawn from experience.
Yeah, like this one. If I lease my farm to hunters, should I allow them to use tree stands, blinds, and my outbuildings as part of the lease? That gets right into the potentially tricky stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And that question goes way beyond just signing the lease, doesn't it? It points to the day-to-day running of things.
Like, who's responsible for that tree stand?
Exactly. Allowing structures like tree stands or letting people use outbuildings, it immediately brings up liability. Who maintains them? Who's responsible if a stand fails? What about the landowner stuff in those buildings? Security?
Lots to consider.
Loads. These are the kind of granular details that can really make or break a lease relationship long term. You absolutely need to spell these things out clearly in the agreement.
Setting clear boundaries and expectations up front.
Essential for preventing arguments later.
That level of detail must be a huge help for people trying to figure this out. Then there's another related article title, The Surprising Advantages of Leasing Rural Land for Hunting. This pushes beyond just the money, right?
Yeah, it suggests looking at the mutual benefits, the win-win that might not be obvious at first glance.
So what are some of those surprising advantages, potentially?
Well, think about it from the landowner side. Beyond the lease income, leasing can actually be a tool for managing the land.
How so? Wildlife management.
Precisely. Responsible hunting helps control animal populations, which can reduce crop damage, disease, habitat degradation. It can lead to a healthier ecosystem overall.
Okay, that makes sense.
It can also discourage poaching just by having an authorized regular presence on the land. That's a security benefit. Maybe there are tax advantages in some areas, or simply the satisfaction of sharing the land responsibly.
And for the hunters, what are the surprising advantages for them?
For hunters, it's about reliable, often exclusive access to good hunting spots. That's getting harder to find, you know.
Sure.
It lets them develop a connection to a specific piece of land, maybe even invest time in improving the habitat. And it can build a real sense of community around responsible use. So it's definitely a multi-layered value proposition.
It really sounds like these services and this whole approach, it's not just about the transaction or covering your back legally. It feels more like fostering stewardship.
That's a great way to put it, fostering shared stewardship. What really stands out to me is that AHLA seems focused not just on the what insurance, what land, but really invested in the how and the why.
Right.
How do you make a fair agreement? Why should both sides feel good about this beyond just the basics? They seem to be offering a whole framework, plus education, that aims for good relationships, healthy land, and practical solutions.
More than just products, it's about enabling people to use and protect private land well.
Exactly. Empowering them.
Well, this has been incredibly insightful, really digging into how access to private property is protected, especially seeing it through the lens of a focused group like AHLA. We've seen how they work to simplify and professionalize something that can be really complex for landowners, hunters, guides, offering these specific solutions for different needs.
Yeah, and the emphasis on clear agreements, solid protection, even building that community, it just underlines how crucial these services are becoming.
Definitely highlights that critical role of bridging the gap between owning land and actually using it recreationally or commercially.
It's about creating that structure where everyone can operate clearly, confidently, making sure access is both protected and productive for the future.
So as we wrap up, here's something to think about. You know, we see growing demand for outdoor recreation, but also more land development happening all the time.
A real tension there.
Yeah. So how might our whole understanding of access to private property change in the years ahead? What new challenges or maybe new opportunities could pop up for landowners and users as things shift? Could we see totally new kinds of services or partnerships emerge?
That's a great question to ponder.
Definitely something to think about next time you're looking out at one of those beautiful landscapes, considering that balance between access and stewardship. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.